There's a lot of things that affect testosterone, things like clothing, polyester affecting hormone levels.
Brendan Talbot is a leading manual osteopath who provides no-nonsense strategies for boosting testosterone levels, relieving back pain, headaches, and maximizing your sleep.
Inflammation is a natural healing process of the body. Inflammation becomes a problem when it lingers in an area or when it can't drain. It's one of the biggest problems in today's day. You see all these videos, do this one movement and your shoulder pain will be gone. So dip your face in ice water and it fixes your dysregulated nervous system. If it was that easy, nobody would have any issues. We're way too complex. People don't want to hear that. They want it to be simple.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Price to Sell podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Campoli. And today we're diving into a very, very important topic, which is health. Health is incredibly important. We all thought our bodies were untouchable at one point in our lives, but we're quickly realizing that they're not. With the increase in self-development and health, understanding our bodies and health is crucial to our success in our entrepreneurial journeys. The last thing we need is to get set back with injury or illness. This is why my guest today, who is also a TikTok and Instagram star, amassing 1.8 million followers on TikTok and 525,000 followers on Instagram, is going to help us understand what we need to do to stay on top of our health and business game. Please help me welcoming manual osteopathic practitioner Brendan Talbot on the show with me today. Thank you for coming, my friend.
Thank you for having me. It's
and
a
what
pleasure.
are you known as on Instagram and TikTok?
BT osteopathy.
BT osteopathy. So if you've seen a guy with like, what do you use like a figurine skeleton thing?
You like the skeleton videos, eh?
The skeleton
I should do
videos.
more with those, yeah.
He's all over the place, just dropping gems on our bodies and health and all that. Quickly though, what is osteopathy?
It's a very good question.
Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, you almost went off and then you fixed it at the end. Osteopathy. Okay. I couldn't say it for the first year. I was in school for it anyway. What I say to most patients is we're basically a mechanic for the body. Mm. So what does a mechanic do? Well, that depends on what the problem is with the car, right? So each treatment is different depending on what the patient comes in with. We've discussed in the past, helping with varicose veins or, blockages in circulation. But we work with all health ailments from headaches to digestive issues, nervous system dysregulation, muscle aches, inflammation, sore backs, sore knees. And basically, it's my job to problem solve what might be causing those things to happen. So it's a lot of problem solving, a lot of assessment, and basically just trying to figure out the best way to make that person better.
So then would you consider this more of like a holistic
Completely.
approach?
The treatment is completely done with my hands.
Versus, so then the difference between, let's say, like other fields out there, like chiropractic, other things like that, like what would be the main difference with
mostly just the thought process and the approach.
Okay.
So, you come in with a swollen ankle, physios have their thought process and approach, chiros have their thought process and approach. We have our thought process and approach. It's kind of how we look at this scenario at hand. Mm-hmm. Like it's kind of hard to explain, but we have a full understanding of the body and all the layers. And like I said, it's just a matter of putting those pieces together and trying to give the best treatment for that person that day. So for example, if somebody comes in and they have back pain, but I notice they're all wired, they can't relax, they're talking super fast, their eyes are stuttering or fluttering, then I know that their nervous system is so fired up that before we even deal with that back pain, we got to get their body to feel a little bit more safe and relaxed. Mm. So it's just a matter of being able to identify the problem and provide a solution. And that's different depending on the day, the type of person. So when I think of does osteopathy work, I think that comes down to how well the practitioner knows the situation and how well they can come up with a solution for it.
Very cool. And the first osteopath I had was this guy, Danny. He's from Hong Kong. And he also did like Qigong.
Cool. I've never had a treatment like that.
Using his hands with me. Very interesting.
Did you feel better after?
Yeah, all the time.
Well, that's all that matters.
All the time, man.
That's all that matters. You can talk about placebo and is it really working?
Yeah.
All of that comes into consideration, know? Like if it is placebo, great. The person feels better, which means they're going to have better energy, treat their inner circle, better, be better at work. So at the end of the day, does the person feel better? Yes or no? I think that's really what it comes down to.
We're gonna dive into all that right now. So quickly, a little brief background. So for those that don't know you or don't follow you online, who is Brendan?
Where do you want to start?
The juicy stuff, man.
The juicy stuff. I think majority of this just started from sports.
Okay.
You know, being an elite athlete my whole life, I just
What'd you play or do?
everything.
Okay.
Main sports though, hockey, lacrosse, baseball, and soccer. Those were like what I played rep in,
Okay.
and pole vaulting.
Oh yeah, you did pole vaulting.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we got a Canada gold medal in this Olympics. I used to train with her.
Oh, very
It's
cool.
pretty awesome. Yeah.
Very cool.
We knew from grade 9 that she would do something.
Oh, she just got a gold medal.
Bronze.
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 What's
yeah.
her name?
Alicia Newman.
Very cool.
Yeah. Pretty cool to see. You know, it's nice when the hard work pays off for
Yeah.
people. Like it's been at least 15 years of training.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, just through sport, I kind of created an understanding of the body. I really enjoyed learning how we can push our bodies to the next level and become the best at whatever it is we're doing. And I didn't even know about osteopathy in university. Like I took kin,
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed it. It was pretty good. Didn't love science.
Yeah.
It's pretty boring in university, to be honest. And then I was actually going to be a chiropractor and found out about osteopathy while I was applying for chiropractic school. And just thought the whole approach of osteopathy was a little bit more holistic because it wasn't just about the joints. It was about the soft tissue, the nervous system, the joints,
Mm-hmm.
blood flow. So I kind of dove into that and I think I made the right choice.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And I follow a lot of real estate agents, so I don't really follow a lot of people in your field, but I had to think of like one person in your field. Like, the only person I can think of is you, who's doing it crazy on socials. And we'll get into all those because you have over 2 million followers combined, I would say.
Probably about 3 with Facebook. I have 700,000 on Facebook.
Oh, wow.
Pretty
Holy
crazy.
crap. So we're going to definitely dive into that later. And like, obviously that's a skill that everyone can take away with their brand and personal brand. But I want to jump into health and business and obviously how like a lot of my audience is entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, business owners. Performance is essential, right? And part of that is our health. Our health can easily set us back and affect everything, right? So why do you think so many business owners overlook their health until it's too late?
That's a very good question. Based on my experience, being proactive with health is one thing. Everyone knows they should be doing it. But as humans, we like to take the path of least resistance. So for a lot of people, not doing a lot of those things is easier. And it is. You know, it's a lot of work to make your meals and not eat processed fast foods. It takes a lot of time. With health, it's one of those things we definitely take for granted until we kind of lose function. Most of my patients in their 40s and 50s wish they would have started taking care of their health a little bit earlier. I think when we're in our 20s, we can get away with partying 4 times a week. We recover really quickly.
Yeah.
And then we start to hit our 30s and things start to slow down a little bit. Hormone levels change when we get older, so less testosterone. There's different variables.
At what age for men?
I wouldn't be able to quote that exactly.
Okay.
I would say based on my own experience,
Yeah.
I'd probably say after the age of 25, I started to notice a decline in that.
Interesting.
There's a lot of things that affect testosterone,
Mm-hmm.
Things like clothing, polyester affecting hormone levels, diet. Yeah, so lately I've been seeing all over your social media and just from talking to you that you've been really working on all aspects of your health from like journaling, meditating, sleep, diet, you're working with a trainer. So speak on that a little bit. Like, have you noticed a difference from kind of, targeting your health from all aspects?
Yeah, definitely. I've always been into it, but I've never understood it like a science, I guess you can say. I've always felt, things happening to me that are maybe unexplainable, manifestation, law of attraction, whatever you want to call it, because I've, do these daily practices. No tangible like thing or explanation for it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I read Joe Dispenza's Becoming Supernatural, and he breaks it down to like a science, and he talks about disease, like dis-ease in the body.
Yeah, that's literally where the word came from.
A lot of it, it's an accumulation of stress and negative emotions and like fear and all these things just accumulating in the body that causes a dis-ease, which is disease, right? And it just transmutes into whatever it ends up being for you. That was a big, that made a lot of sense to me, So yeah, I'm very big on like keeping the mind right and the body in like a very good place. I'm trying to like limit the stress. That's why like I travel and, try and,
it helps.
although I am like still very much a fight or flight guy and how
but
I
I
operate.
think you can blame society for that,
For sure.
not to say it's society's fault how we feel, but we're influenced a lot by society. To buy a home nowadays, it's extremely expensive. So people have financial stress of, trying to save enough to buy a home. A lot of people can't. So that's a stressor. Like I said, health problems in families, there's stress all the time.
Yeah.
I think we'll kind of go back to talking about someone's capacity. I think the more at ease more things are in your body, the more capacity you have to handle different stressors. So I see this a lot with people that, might have digestive issues or get headaches when the weather changes or when they go on an airplane. What I tell them is, why do you get a headache when you go on an airplane when the pressure changes, but I don't? I'm still experiencing the same pressure changes, but my body has more capacity to handle those stressors, so it doesn't create symptomatic expressions. But clearly with that person, something is going on that's bringing them a little closer to their threshold, so that extra change in pressure is now bringing them over their threshold. So this can be seen in athletes, these people competing at the Olympics, they're so good at blocking out everything around them to perform their best. But you have someone, that's not used to that going to the Olympics, and now under that pressure, you see a lot of people crumble.
Yeah.
So what's the difference there? It's whatever is going on the inside of that body. And I think with health too, you don't see a lot of this stuff on the inside. Unless you're getting tested, every week for all these different variables, you have no idea what's happening on the inside. So that's another reason why people aren't proactive. If you go for, let's say, an osteopathic treatment, you don't see the changes that happen on the inside. You might feel them, but you don't see them. So you leave the treatment and you're like, to someone who doesn't really understand what's happening, okay, like I just kind of had my body manipulated a bit. They don't really realize what's happening on the inside. But, if you go and get Botox or your lips done or some sort of surgery, aesthetic surgery, you see the change right away. So you know exactly what happened. But on the inside, we don't see that. But I think in the next, 10, 15, 20 years, we're going to have technology that starts to really break down what's actually happening, maybe through exercise or through these manual treatments or through stress. I think we're kind of getting closer to that. So I think that'll bring a lot of understanding to what's going on underneath the skin.
Yeah. Well, I mean, small tools are already gaining crazy popularity, like the Whoop band.
Yep.
People are trying to start.
Or a ring.
Yeah, or a
even
ring.
Apple Watch, just kind of keeping,
starting to monitor like sleep, performance, heart rate.
And it's helpful.
Yeah.
I think you can go to the extreme with that too, and people can overanalyze stuff.
Sure.
I think that's a problem in itself. It's another form of stress.
Yeah.
But it's definitely helpful, in just having an idea of where those markers are. You can really maximize performance from that.
And just circling back to like illness, right? Because obviously it's that can be the end of us fairly quickly in our human lives, right? Let's take like this current modern, or not modern, but like just the current system where it's like, hey doc, I'm experiencing this pain or this is happening in my body. Cool, here's a prescription, go take this. And then they just proceed to just take medication. What's your take on that?
So this is actually, just to give a little brief history, how osteopathy came about.
Okay.
So the guy, Andrew Taylor Still, who created osteopathy, he was a physician for like his whole life. His dad was in medicine, so he came from a family of medicine.
So when does this date back to then?
Early 1900s, like 1890 to early 1900s. And when he was, working as a doctor and someone came in with headaches, they would give them medication. And they would basically say, okay, come back in a couple days, let us know if it worked. If it worked, we're going to continue giving you this medication. If it didn't, we're going to try a different medication. It was kind of like a shotgun effect of just try that. Like there was no rational explanation besides the fact that they had a headache. But there's various causes of headaches. You could have a tension headache. You could have a circulation issue. You could have trauma. Like there's various forms of headaches. Headaches just means pain in the head. So there's a lot of, reasons as to why you can have a headache. So to give one pill and just assume that it works, it's not really the most logical approach. So then he started to realize that, if someone had a vertebrae in the neck that was stuck or not moving properly, or a lot of muscle tension on one side, that could start to affect the blood flow to the head, or, movement patterns of the neck. And that would become irritating to those tissues, which will then in turn cause a headache. So he started to play around with assessing people's movement and function and started treating the actual problem. And when he started to improve those problems, people's symptoms got better. Then he started to dive a little bit more into it. But it was a lot more of a rational approach, and that's why we do what we do. It's we try to find the problem in the body, make it better, and 9 times out of 10 symptoms improve. Just like you said, dis-ease. You know, when there's irritation in the body, we can't expect tissues to do what they're supposed to do. You know, if you're really irritated, you're not going to have the same outcome in a workday as if you weren't irritated. Your productivity would be different. You know, someone would ask you a question, you kind of get, you know, agitated. It creates brain fog and, you know, confusion and all these things. But if you're feeling good, chances are you're going to have a much better workday. It's the same thing with the cells in our body. When they're irritated, we can't expect them to do their job. So when you think about it that way, it's really interesting. But when you come back to medication, you know, sometimes tissues have been damaged or in dysfunction for so long and they've actually changed. You know, sometimes medication can provide relief, and I'm, you know, not knocking medication. It's definitely helpful in a lot of cases. Do I think it solves the problem? No. Do I think it can help? Yeah. I think there's other ways you can approach, you know, disease and illness without medication, but I'm not against it. You know, you get a 90-year-old person, you want to improve their quality of life. If that medication's improving their quality of life, you know, can't disregard that.
Yeah.
Same thing goes with surgery.
Yeah.
You know, try to avoid surgery as much as you can. A lot of people think that that's the answer. It's never the answer to just open the body. The body's not meant to be split open with a knife. But in certain cases, it can help people. And, it, you know, you got to weigh the pros and the cons.
Yeah.
Again, back to quality of life. If it improves that person's quality of life and the benefits of that surgery outweigh the negatives, I think, you know, go for it.
What's the best way to cure a headache? Is there like a trick?
Headache, is there a trick? No, because like I said, the cause is different. There's different things you can do to help. I've seen this one technique where people put heat or cold on their forehead and heat on their back to kind of like change circulation in the head, and it can provide relief. For a lot of people, it's dehydration, you know, increasing salt intake. Like there's different things you can do definitely to help. Making sure you're consuming enough food during the day. There's different things, but 9 times out of 10, I find dysfunction in the upper cervicals, and just improving that gets rid of most headaches, which is pretty cool. Even chronic headaches.
Interesting. How do you do that? So
It's kind of, because everything in the body is connected. It's not just like, you know, treating C1 or C2 is like the magic answer. Because sometimes like
this is not something I can do by myself.
You'd have to know what's causing it.
Okay, fair.
So you'd have to be able to run through a full, you know, diagnostic assessment to figure that out. And we can't really do that on ourselves, unfortunately.
True.
So it's not that easy. But like I said, there are things you can do to improve headaches.
And jumping to the way of life now, again, speaking to the business owner, entrepreneur, busy lifestyle out there, what are some daily habits or routines that you recommend busy entrepreneurs try to do to maintain their health as best as possible?
Movement, number one, besides getting good sleep. But movement.
Is there a proper time for movement, or doesn't matter when?
The simple rule of thumb, your body adapts to whatever you do most. So if you sit 8 hours a day and you move 1 hour a day, you can't expect your body to be a highly mobile unit. You're sitting 8 hours of the day. So in a perfect world, if you're sitting 8 hours a day, move for 8 hours a day in a perfect world. You know, a lot of people don't have that time. So do what you can, you know, got to be reasonable. But certain habits, like I like to work out in the morning. I find I intake more water earlier on in the day.
True.
Circulation starts improving as soon as I get up, instead of having that stagnation through the workday. So I can think a little bit better. I find my brain works a little bit better. For me, what are some things that I do? When I go to sleep, I only go to bed when I'm tired. I don't go to bed and lay on my phone and sit in there and watch TV. And I find that really helps my sleep. So only go to bed when you're tired, and go to bed to go to sleep. You know, don't go to bed to, like I said, play around on your phone. Keep the temperature cool when you're sleeping. Stay hydrated. I realized I was under drinking water. So now I aim for about, 2 to 4 liters a day. But then when you increase your water intake, you have to increase your salt intake.
Okay.
But I say that sparingly, because if you're eating a lot of processed foods and now you're adding a lot of salt to your water, your sodium levels are going to be extremely high. So you got to always try to balance that. If you're drinking less water, take less sodium.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another, sodium water balance is extremely important. Exercise, whether that's strength training, running, cycling, get some sort of,
Walking?
yeah, walking's fantastic. It's probably
Okay.
the best thing most people can do.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone overlooks walking.
Yeah.
It's like the most important thing.
10K steps.
Yeah, 5 to 10K steps a day.
is not hard.
Extremely important.
It's not hard at all to hit
But
that.
it takes the time,
Mhm.
And when people drive to work, they sit at a desk, they drive home, they sit down and watch Netflix. They're getting 1 or 2,000 steps a day.
Yeah.
Like that's way too low.
Yeah.
So blood is always flowing through the body. And when we're sitting, just like right now,
Mhm.
fluid becomes stagnant.
Yeah.
And if you think about a pond versus a river, which one would you rather go into? The pond is going to be, filled with algae and bacteria. There's no flow.
Mm-hmm.
It's stagnant. It
Yeah.
becomes gross.
Mhm.
A river is always flowing. The water is always clear.
Yeah.
So it's a good way of thinking about it.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Makes total sense.
And then it comes, when we start talking about inflammation.
Yeah.
Inflammation is a natural healing process of the body. Inflammation becomes a problem when it lingers in an area or when it can't drain.
Yeah.
That's when inflammation becomes a problem.
How about stretching?
Stretching is good. Stretching is great. You're bringing your joints to end range.
Mm-hmm.
You're putting your muscles on tension. Stretching is great. Where I find the problem with stretching is most people will only stretch when they have pain, or they'll only stretch, if they're sore.
Yes.
A lot of times when you have an acute issue,
Mhm.
that tissue does not want to be stretched. It actually irritates it more. So I think, knowing when to stretch and how to stretch and why you're stretching, I think that's really important.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah,
Definitely
there's
a
a lot
lot.
of variables,
For
when
sure.
it comes to health. And I think that's one of the biggest problems in today's day, because you see all these videos, do this one movement and your
Mhm.
shoulder pain will be gone.
Yeah.
Here's this one back exercise that will solve all your back problems.
Mhm.
Dip your face in water in ice water, and it fixes your dysregulated nervous system.
Yeah.
If it was that easy, nobody would have any issues.
For sure.
We're way too complex.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem when it comes to the body, is we are so complex that people don't want to hear that
Yeah.
and don't want to understand the complexity. They want it to be simple,
Yes.
but it's not simple.
And with this day and age, everyone wants a quick fix, quick whatever
Yeah.
they see. So on that topic, I want to do something fun with you. Tons of social media health trends going on right now, right? So I want to do a little boomer bust with you.
Okay.
Boomer bust. So I'm going to name a health trend. You say boomer bust and just quick description why.
Okay.
Okay?
Putting me on the spot, seeing if I actually know my stuff.
Ready to rock?
Let's go.
Mouth taping.
Good.
Boom.
Boom.
Why?
We're meant to breathe through the nose. There's a lot of different variables as to why we should be breathing through the nose. It warms up air. There's hairs in there, unless you trim them all. That is to block bacteria. If you're breathing through your mouth, the only form of filtration in there is the tonsils. And a lot of people have their tonsils removed. So now you have a lot of bacteria and viral loads getting into the respiratory tract. So boom,
Mouth taping.
mouth taping.
Gotta buy
And
some.
now it's probably not comfortable when you start out,
Mm.
especially if you're doing it through exercise, because if you have, a deviated septum, or you haven't trained your body to get enough oxygen through the nose, we automatically go to the mouth because we can inhale, more oxygen, but we should be breathing through the nose, ideally.
Okay. Jaw exercisers.
Jaw? Like
Those
like,
jaw balls things.
like chewing those?
Yeah.
Sure, boom, because you're working the muscles around the jaw. It's a good thing. I mean, we talk all day, we chew all day. Our face muscles do get a lot of exercise, if you want to say that, but no harm in that.
It's more for aesthetics
Yeah.
anyways.
Yep.
Run clubs.
Run clubs, boom, building good habits, good sense of community. When it comes to hormones, running too much can also be a problem.
Mhm.
Too much of anything or too little of anything is not ideal for
What
the
hormone
body.
does it affect if you run too much?
Well, testosterone.
Really?
Back to testosterone. Yeah, if you're running 20K a day every day, like your testosterone levels, your muscle
Yeah.
decreases. So testosterone levels are also somewhat relative to the amount of muscle in the body. So someone that has really low muscle, high fat, is going to have a lot lower levels of testosterone than someone of the opposite. So running too much, then you start talking about, okay, well, how much food is that person eating? How much protein? Are they resistance training? It's all relative to a certain extent, but running too much is not ideal. Depends on what you're training for. If you're trying to be a marathon runner, then you don't need high levels of muscle mass.
Yeah.
So now you're training different organs and functions of the body. So it depends on what your goals are.
Makes sense.
You know, if you're trying to be a huge muscle guy, I wouldn't say that that's ideal, but
Yeah. Ozempic.
bust. Bust. You'll never see me being a pro advocate for that. Now, again, if we're looking at the pros and cons, you know, someone is 300-400 pounds, they have knee pain, ankle pain, hip pain. It's a lot of load. Your bones and your joints don't grow relative to your body weight. So that's something important to consider. So if you can lose that much weight, you know, that might have some health benefits. But the cons are, it's very hard to maintain, especially if your lifestyle and your habits are brutal and you're just taking this medication to compensate for those bad habits. Not a good idea. And another thing with fat cells don't necessarily disappear, they shrink. So if you lose that much weight that quickly, you can imagine you've accumulated like this large amount of fat cells and now they've just kind of shrunk. They're still like hiding in the body. And this is why people gain weight usually twice as fast, you know, if they were to stop taking it. So it depends. If you're using it to build a better life, better habits, but you would never see me advocate for it.
Bust.
So bust.
Red light therapy.
Boom. You're not going to really have any negative effects from it, you know, unless you sit in front of it for 8 hours a day. Might burn your skin or, you know, there could be some negatives, but there has been some scientific evidence that it does help at the cellular level with mitochondria and that sort of thing. Now, to what extent that's true, I haven't looked into it enough, but I use red light therapy every now and then. Infrared saunas are great.
Mm-hmm.
Boom.
Okay. TRT. Testosterone replacement therapy.
Yeah. Boom or bust. I think, you know, if you get your testosterone levels checked and your doctor says, you know, your testosterone levels are a lot lower, maybe you're in your 40s, your 50s, we know there's a natural decline in testosterone, and they say, you know, TRT could be a good supplement to bring your testosterone levels back up, could be a good thing. Yeah, if you need it, you know, check with your doctor for that. I'm not against it, you know, maybe after I have kids, I'd consider it if I you know, wanted to keep my muscle mass high and my testosterone levels were low. I'd explore natural ways first, you know, locking down the diet, the right amount of exercise, not running too much, like those types of things. I would try to calibrate it that way. And if not, you know, I would look for something like that.
Okay. And the last one I have is salt.
Salt. So yeah, we kind of touched on that.
Yeah.
Boom.
Okay.
There's been different studies on different effects of different types of salt. I don't know too much about it, but like sea salt, Himalayan salt, Celtic salt, table salt, there are different effects because they are different compositions to like at a chemical level, but boom.
Okay. Amazing.
And I think a lot of people kind of steer away from salt because high blood pressure, and my doctor said this, but there's so many other variables that affect blood pressure that I would look at before, you know, eliminating salt. Salt is a compound our body needs, just like water. So
yeah,
that kind of explains it right there.
I've been upping my salt heavy.
It's
all
so
my
important.
meals just
every meal.
I
But
do
you're
drink a lot of
probably
water.
eating, you know, whole food diet. So there's not a lot of sodium in that. So
Yes.
you need that extra sodium. It's important.
And then as we come to the end of the pod now, I do want to quickly touch on the social media side.
Cool.
Because yes, you do what you do, but you also built up a huge brand for yourself, community, all that. So any tips and tricks to how long did it take, first off, to grow to such an amazing following?
Each platform was different. I kind of like chunked it together. So I first just worked on TikTok. I didn't post on Instagram. I didn't post on Facebook. I posted on TikTok every single day for a year. That was my goal. I'm going to get to 1 million followers. I'm going to post every single day. And that was that.
And that's what happened.
It was during COVID, so it was a little bit easier because
Okay.
like my day was dedicated to basically making content.
Yeah.
Now I'm a lot busier with work, so I'm not as efficient with making content. I hit 1 million. I started posting on TikTok in May. And I hit 1 million followers that November. So it was about June, July, August, September, 6 months later.
Wow.
Which is pretty crazy.
That is crazy.
And then I wanted to branch off into Instagram and started to grow my Instagram account. That I've been working on now for 3 years.
Did you just repurpose the content?
I did initially. Now I kind of repurpose and create. Like if I don't have time to make videos, I'll repurpose.
Yeah.
Because you have to remember, first of all, not all your followers are seeing your content. So it might be repurposed to you,
Yeah.
but
Not to them.
your followers are seeing it for the first time. Also, you can say the same message in every video and new people are going to see it. So I think there's a huge issue with people kind of overthinking, like I've already posted that, or I posted that a month ago. Doesn't matter. Post it again. Did it do well? Post it again.
Yeah.
You know, make a one-off that's very similar to that. Maybe touch on a different topic similar to that. That's something that I have to get better at because I post a lot of different types of content. It's all related to the body. You know, people always say niche down, specialize. I do specialize. I specialize in the body. But there's a lot of elements. You know, you can talk about muscle. You can talk about the nervous system. You could talk about strength training. But when it comes down to making content, make content that you're passionate about. I think that's important because you definitely would get bored. Make content that creates value. I think everyone kind of understands that by now. Get to the point. You know, you don't have to like introduce yourself every time you make a new video. And make content that's shareable. So don't make content that's for you. Make content that helps other people. I think that's the biggest point. A lot of people, they don't want their page to look a certain way, or they don't want to post this content because, you know, they don't like something about it.
Yeah.
Well, are you providing value? And I think you're really good at that. Like you post all sorts of content. You're kind of light, airy, comical, like, you know, you're yourself. You don't overthink it. Sometimes you post skits. Sometimes you post more structured, serious content. You know, it's a good balance. And I think your followers would agree when they say like they like watching your content. They kind of know what to expect. So that comes down to like the branding and creating a brand for yourself. What's difficult, like I said, with what I do is it's, you know, a lot of people might want to follow me for headache relief, but they don't really care about understanding their nervous system. They should, because it's all relative, but that's kind of the hard truth when it comes to health. They want that simple, here's this to fix this answer, especially in the content, especially with short form content. And if I don't put in the video, do this to fix your back pain, you're not going to get the same amount of views as you would if someone was putting that.
For sure.
But you won't find me doing that because it's not that simple.
Yeah.
So there's certain boundaries that I kind of hold in my content.
Yeah, stay
like
true.
everything is true. You know, I might say, try this to help this. I'm not going to say, try this to fix this. But yeah, you sacrifice some of the views. But at the end of the day, I'd rather that and be, you know, honest with the content.
So what are some cool things that have come out, cool experiences that have come out of as a result of your, you know, massive platforms?
Being on your podcast.
There you go.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. I did it all
This
just
is
to be
it.
here today.
You're set now.
That's it.
Your life is made.
That's it.
This is it. This is the.
I'm quitting.
Peak.
I'm not posting anymore on
This is
social
peak.
media.
This is peak.
Yeah, being on a couple of podcasts, traveling, getting to meet other
You
healthcare
getting more
professionals.
clients?
Oh yeah, but a lot of my followers
Brands?
are worldwide. Yep, brand deals.
Very cool.
But I'm very picky again with brand deals. They have to be kind of clean products, you know, not filled with toxins,
Makes sense.
that sort of thing. Like I want to promote things that are going to help people.
And would you say you built a community now of people?
Yeah, I could be better on the community building aspect of things in the sense of, you know, letting people into my life a little bit more. I'm very kind of surface level when it comes to the online presence. Not sure why. Something I got to work on.
Well, speaking of community,
Okay. Let's talk about these for
let's
a
talk
second.
about this.
Let's talk. Yeah, what is that, right?
What-
Let's talk.
what
Let's
is
talk about
this?
this. All right, this is hilarious, and most of you probably won't believe me when I said I kind of started this in Toronto because now everyone's wearing them.
I see this everywhere.
But this is what happened with this, and this is so funny, and it's good to talk about this like when it comes to branding. So nobody knows what that means, but everyone's curious about it. And sometimes when you're creating a brand or an identity online, sometimes it's better not to give too much info. You know, if you're taking a picture. So this is what happened with this. Last summer, someone gave my fiance one of those, and same thing. We're like, what is this? Like, they're like, oh, it's a sprout. And we're like, okay, so they're like, just take it. So she wore it. We were at Electric Island. She wore it all day, and everyone's coming up to her like, oh, what's on your head? Is that like a grass? Is it like, what is that? Is that a weed? Like, it was so funny. So then this year, I was like, what was that thing you were wearing on your head last year? And she's like, oh, it was a sprout. I'm like, I have the best idea. I'm going to order like 500 of these, and I'm just going to sell them at the next event. So I bought a bunch of them, brought them to the event. I ended up selling maybe like 20. I gave the rest out for free.
Yeah.
So not the best businessman, but by the end of the day, there was probably about 100 to 150 people that were walking around with
Everyone
them.
has sprouts.
And then the next day, all of those people brought them again,
Mm-hmm.
and then I started giving more out. And then the next event that I went to, I saw even more people wearing them, and now like it's just a thing.
It's a thing.
It's just a thing.
I wore this, and I had someone come up to me and ask me for it, and now I'm friends with him.
Yeah, it's
Because
good.
it meant something to
it was
him.
good for community.
Yeah.
I made sure though that every person I gave it to, like I took a picture with them, you
Yeah.
know, got to know them a little bit, which
Yeah.
which it's nice.
It was cool. It's cool.
Yeah,
It's cool what this
it's
little,
fun.
You'd be surprised what the littlest things out there can do for people.
They make people so
That's
happy
the point
too.
of this.
I would hear people. So the last event I was at, this girl went up to this guy because he was wearing one, and she goes, "Where's everyone getting these sprouts? Like, oh, I wish I had one so bad. You know, like I don't know where to get them from. Blah 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 blah." So I kind of overheard, and I'm like, I turn around, I'm like, "You looking for a sprout?" She's like, "Oh my god, yeah." I'm like, "Here you go." I just gave her one, and she was so happy. And it's like such a small little
It is.
gesture, you know, but goes a long way.
Yeah. Well, this is your sign to get yourself
Should have
a
let me
sprout.
know. Would have brought my sprout.
This was a surprise.
Sprout squad.
It is a sprout squad.
Sprout squad.
Look out for the sprouts in Toronto, my friends. Well, Brendan, you've been amazing, man.
Yeah, thanks for having
Thanks
me.
for coming on.
Hopefully we provided a little bit of value for people.
All kinds. All kinds. I learned a lot. Where can everyone find you?
Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, BT Osteopathy. There's a dot on Instagram, but you'll still find me. Hopefully getting a podcast out soon. Maybe I got to talk to you about that.
Nice.
Yeah, just more of this like conversation stuff. I think there's a lot of value in it.
Big time. Big
Yeah.
time. More that short form content can really
Yeah. So my next goal is going to
provide.
be YouTube, but doing that longer form content,
nice.
explaining kind of like you said when you read in that book why certain things happen.
Mhm.
And I think when people go to YouTube, they're more prone to spending a little bit longer on a video
Definitely.
and actually learning something. So it's going to be a good platform for me to get actual value out rather than these quick little tips where you're not really getting the whole story.
Yeah, YouTube, long form. A lot of the biggest creators, Hermosi's dripping an hour long
Wow.
sessions now, right? So,
Wow.
and I literally sit there and watch it all. So if it's good stuff,
And that's the
good
thing. You
stuff.
don't have to be super. You don't have to do a lot with editing and make
No.
it, you know, all these cuts. Like you can just be raw.
No, man.
Yeah.
That's where people draw the line and
I know,
fail.
but that's what builds
And don't
more
even
community.
start. Exactly.
That's what builds more community is like the raw stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the goal for the next couple of months.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
You've been
appreciate
great.
it.
And to everyone out there, hope you guys enjoyed this. It's a little bit different today, but very important stuff. So
Be proactive with your health.
be proactive with your health. Please share this with a friend, family member, whoever you think might find value in this. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.